Hey, so I'm going to give you the 7 top mistakes that I see most entrepreneurs make when they're pitching for corporate contracts. But before I get into that, let me introduce myself so you can know that you're in good company. You're listening to someone who's been there, done that, and can give you the steps, simple and easy, to land more corporate contracts in your business. So if this is your first time meeting me, hey, I'm Kirsten Allen, and I have been in this space since 2017, despite the face. I started my career off working for one of the largest tech companies, selling B2B to universities, government entities, and of course, hitting my head several times up against the wall, and then finally learning the process because for me, my livelihood depended on it. So I had to learn how to be successful into selling into organizations. And I started that at, again, 22 years old, going to campuses, talking to people in the C-suite, and just trying to understand, how do you get people to say yes at a corporate level to whatever you're selling? And through that, through learning those skills, I decided to translate that into my business and help other entrepreneurs who may not have had the corporate background that I had, understanding B2B marketing and sales, and learn how they can utilize these same tactics in order to sell their services, their programs, their workshops into corporate. So I've been on that lens. I've also been on the buyer lens. So I've been the one hiring experts to come in and do particular services on behalf of my company. So I have a diverse experience, even in just the short amount of time that I shared with you here today, that has helped me mold and be able to share things like what I'm going to talk about in this video, but my whole entire brand around helping people get into corporate and sell their amazing services. So with that being said, are y'all all good? You still here? You still like, okay, she might be talking about something. Let's dive in. All right, so let's go into these 7 mistakes. Let's get into number 1. Okay, so the first mistake that I see most entrepreneurs make when they are pitching for corporate contracts is they are priced too low. Now, this one, number 5, is really going to get you, but this one is a good one as well because it's so common, right? I hear this from talking with decision makers, from talking to business owners and working directly with clients, that we are typically priced too low as small businesses going into corporations. And here's the thing about this. Oftentimes we think, oh, if we get a lower price, we'll be able to get in and, they'll easily accept our offer and all of those things. Here's how corporations think. They have budgets allotted for particular services or things that they're looking for, priorities that they have in the business, right? Every company has budgets. So they have money set aside to do certain projects, and they have an expectation on what they plan to spend in a particular area. If you come in and you're priced low, they're going to automatically assume that one of 2 things. You're not the expert, and if they spend money with you, they're probably not going to get the quality of service that they need. So those are 2 things, 2 red flags that you do not want to have, because especially knowing that you're watching this video, you're brilliant at what you do. You probably have all the degrees, the accolades, all the things. You don't want price to make you look like a novice. And so with that being said, you want to make sure that you think about your pricing as an impact to an organization. So oftentimes, especially if you're selling one-on-one or group coaching programs, we might be thinking about serving one or, a handful of people in our products and in our offers. In an organization, you're typically going to be impacting 20, 30, 50, 100, how many ever employees, right? So as you're going in and positioning your workshops or your coaching, even if you're working with one individual person, say you're doing sales coaching or executive coaching, something to that effect, you are still impacting someone that has millions, or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars assigned to their role. So your help, whatever it is that you do with them, is going to help them unlock or untap an impact to an organization that is on a large scale. So you really want to think deeply about the impact that your work has to an overall organization, not changing anything, the work that you do just as it is, the impact that is created, but think about the impact that it's going to have within an organization and price that way. I've been told by people who make decisions, go ahead and 2x your price. Typically because what they're seeing is that entrepreneurs will come in again at a price point that is a little unbelievable. It's almost like, going to Louis Vuitton and they have a bag that's $50. You're kind of going to be thinking, this doesn't make sense. And so look at your pricing, talk with someone specifically if you need to get some help, maybe a finance professional, in terms of how you need to structure your pricing. But at any rate, think about, again, what is the impact? What is the 10x result that they're going to get? And how can I make sure my pricing is positioned to show that? Add a zero, add, a few more hundreds of dollars, whatever you need to do to make sure that you showcase that impact. Okay, so let's get into number 2. The second mistake is offering a pre-packaged solution. So here's what this looks like. We know as entrepreneurs with service-based businesses, we have packages, we have coaching programs, we have workshops and all these things. Typically, corporations, and this is straight from the decision maker angle, they're not looking to buy what's called your off the shelf or out of the box offers, things that you've already packaged together and that you're just looking to sell apples to apples. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to go and create a whole new package or, just reimagine and overhaul your services. It means that you want to be flexible enough to maybe even take some stuff out, right? Corporations are not into the fluff. They're not into our fancy language and flowery things. They just want to get to the point of getting the solution that they need. So sometimes some of the additives that we have put into our programs or our services could be to add additional value or flair to our individual clients, but corporate clients could care less. They just want the basics. They want the minimum viable to get them to the solution that they need to get to. So in that aspect, you want to make sure that you propose each discovery call or conversation as an opportunity to co-create a solution that is a best fit for them, removing all the fluff, removing all the razzle dazzle, and just getting to the heart of what they need. So here's a tip for this. In your discovery call conversation, invite them to describe what a solution would look like for them. And in your head, you're looking and trying to figure out what it is that you have to match that and give them a brief shell of what that could look like, get their buy-in, and then move forward with the developing a proposal for them. All right, so that's what you want to do instead of offering a pre-packaged solution. Okay, so let's get into the third mistake. The third mistake that I see most entrepreneurs make when pitching for corporate contracts is offering to create a proposal before they get a soft yes. Now, I told y'all number 5, but this one is another one too. All of these are really, really good because, again, it's just a slight nuance that helps to increase your conversions and helps you to build stronger relationships. So here's what this looks like. Creating a proposal before you get a soft yes. I hear a lot of people, not the people who work with me, but just people in general, because, I make sure that my clients are prepared, but they'll say, oh, I'm sending proposals. And I'm like, okay, proposals is usually like towards the last phase of the conversation, right? You don't jump in ready to send a proposal out to people in the first email. So if you're doing that, I'm not, tearing you down or anything like that. This is a place to learn and a place of awareness. This is why we're making this video and talking about these mistakes, because I want you to be able to avoid them. So sending a proposal should be towards the latter stages of the process. And why I suggest structuring it in this way is because corporations typically work in a very systematic way. So you're not typically going to get on a phone call the first time you're meeting someone. I never say never, but I'm just saying in my years of experience and also with coaching clients, you're typically not going to get on the very first phone call with someone that you do not know. We're not talking about warm referrals. We're talking about cold people that you're just meeting. You're not going to get on the first phone call with them and their credit card in hand, ready to work with you. Now, I never say never, likely not going to happen. And because I want you to be set up for success, I don't want you to have that lens going into the conversation. I want to give you the typical process. So with that being said, you want to ensure that you understand how this goes so that you can make sure opportunities don't fall through the cracks and that you are level set in terms of how this opportunity is going to move forward. So once you've gotten them on a discovery call, your job is to, again, uncover what they need, start to co-create that solution, and be able to give them an outline of how you can address the needs that they shared with you. In that discussion, you want to be able to get a soft yes. Does this sound like something that can work for you? I have what I call a proposal or a discovery call exit ticket, which I share with my clients to basically, and I'll actually give you guys an overview in this video of what that looks like, to let them know the 3 things they need to get before they ever get off a call and jump to creating a proposal. And that is, number 1, is this solution a match for you, which is why you give them that skeleton while you're on the call. Does this sound like this could be a good fit for what you need? Yes or no? Very clear. The second thing is timing. When are you looking to do this? Oftentimes I'll hear people say, I created a proposal, they ghosted me, or now they're looking to do this at a different date. We need to be very clear. And this is where your leadership and your own self-awareness and self-confidence has to come in. This is a part of also what we incorporate into what we work with clients on, because you need to be able to hold your own and stand firm and get the answers that you need, and also lead the conversation in a way that makes sense for everyone. So with that being said, the two things, is this a match, the timing, and then the budget, right? We're going to get into the budget piece, so I'm not going to dive into that right now, but you want to understand what that looks like. So that, again, as you go off and create this proposal, this is not just for information. A proposal is not to let people know what you offer or for people who are just browsing. A proposal is for someone who is ready to move forward with your services. Be very clear about that. All right, so once you have completed that exit ticket, then you have a good understanding. Okay, if I'm getting yeses all across the board, then this sounds like something that I need to move forward and create a proposal for. Now, again, in our process, we do have a second call to present the proposal. Again, I like for my clients to make sure they're not falling through the cracks. I know how corporations get busy and priorities shift. And while you want to be flexible, you also want to protect your time, your energy, and protect the potential clientele you're bringing on. So with that being said, you need to be very clear about if we're moving forward or if we're not moving forward. So when you have that proposal call, before you even get to there, you should already have that soft yes. You've prepared the proposal and now you're ready to present it. That's an ideal situation. Now, of course, things shift. There are obviously outliers that happen, but in a perfect world, that's how I like to see this process go. So at the bare minimum, you need to make sure that you have that soft yes, you have that confirmation before you decide to move forward and draft a proposal. It takes time, it takes energy. Energetically, you're going to feel like this is a go. If you don't have that yes, then there may be some apprehensions that come later that bring down your energy. So we can get into that in another video, but it's important to get that soft yes. All right, so let's get into the next one. Okay, so the fourth mistake that I see most entrepreneurs make, and this is another good one. Oh my gosh, they're all good. The fourth mistake is not having enough leads. Now, when I tell you to be completely transparent, when I look at the people that I've worked with and just look at what's the difference, it is definitely the ability to keep and nurture leads in your pipeline, right? That's a key differentiator. And especially as we're looking at how we're working with people and accepting people into our programs, we need to know that you are willing to go out here and get the leads that you need and nurture them through your process, okay? Corporate contracts, unless you have relationships or, it's a referral situation, they're not going to fall in your lap. Just like any other sales in our business, we have to go and get the business, right? So not having enough leads, it hurts the process in two ways. Number one, obviously, you're not going to be able to have enough people to bring through the pipeline in order to say yes to you. If you just have one person in the pipeline, your odds, while you could get that one person to say yes, you're not having a healthy pipeline of people to where if they're looking to push this out or something happens, someone moves, all of your eggs are in one particular basket. And what we're about is not just getting a contract here and there. We help clients be able to build a B2B division of their business. And so in that aspect, it's not just about how can we get one person through the pipeline. It's about really building a healthy business and keeping people at every stage of the pipeline. When I was doing this in my career, we would have opportunities that were, qualified. We'd have opportunities that are like a low percentage of closing, high percentage of closing, and then ones that we are sure coming in. At any point, we had leads at every stage, and we spent our time nurturing each of those based upon what was needed in those stages. And so I take that same aspect and how I was brought up in this space, so to speak, and bring that to what we do with clients, and it works well. So the other part of not having enough leads is, again, energetically. This is all about, it's not just about, again, getting contracts. What I desire is for more entrepreneurs to feel empowered working with corporations, to feel like they can be their authentic self, not having to conform and all the things. So a lot of this is also protecting your energy and making sure that you stay in the leadership throughout the process. So not having enough leads shows up in your leadership and in your own disposition, because again, if something happens there is a lot of vitality in certain industries. So budgets are cut, sometimes there may be layoffs, all the things. There are risks that have nothing to do with you that could affect your deals. So if you don't have enough people in the pipeline and something happens, then all of a sudden you're feeling defeated. And then it takes longer to be able to recover and get back into the process. So what you want to make sure is that you always have something going. If they say no, it's not like, let me try to slash my prices and, what can I do? And let me do all this follow up with them. No, it's this, here's the process. Here's what I do. I follow up this amount of times. I keep my proposals open for this window. If you don't respond or, you're asking for different things, we'll work with you. But at this point, we cut it off. And now we're moving on to the next person. And in order to do that, you have to make sure you have more people to reach out to, more conversations going on. Then you keep the momentum going. So, easy way to do this, set a goal for yourself. If you're unsure right now, start with 5. Say I'm going to connect and get at least 5 leads into my business a day or either a week that are corporations, nonprofits, universities, the like, so that you can be able to start to develop that pipeline. That way, again, you're moving people through. Get to a point where it's like, hey, I'm all maxed out on my corporate work. I'm going to start putting people on a wait list, or I'm going to develop something different that I can be able to deliver to these organizations that don't take up more of my time. Get to a point where you're what the book calls oversubscribed. And I can't think of the author of that book, but check out that book. He talks about some amazing concepts, but get to that point so that then you can start making choices instead of feeling like you're scraping up leads. And when you get on the call, they have to do it. Or if they ghost you, you're now, feeling a type of way, you're not able to reach out and generate more leads. Keep your energy high. It's going to be important to be a self-leader in this process. That's the only way that you're going to be successful. Okay, so let's get into number 5, which is the most anticipated one that I told you want to stick around for. Okay, the 5th mistake that most entrepreneurs make when they're going after corporate contracts is this: asking about their budget. Okay, let me tell you this, because remember, I told you earlier, as a part of our exit list for clients, it is asking about the budget. The thing about this is how we ask about the budget and our disposition about asking for their budget, and also what we're trying to get out of it. So you want to know what they have allocated for this, but honestly, you also need to know what you're willing to sell your services for. So you want to make sure before you go into any conversations, you've outlined each element of your services. So don't think in packages, think about line items. So if it's a workshop, if it's virtual, in person, what's the price point of that going to be? If you do coaching, like we do leadership coaching inside of my company with corporations, I have a price per person for my leadership coaching. So have those things outlined. So as you're going through the conversation, it's almost like going to the grocery store, right? If you, again, co-creating the solution, if they're like, hey, okay, we have 13 people that we want to coach, that we want to get leadership coaching for. We have this big workshop event. We have this, large leadership event. We'd be looking for a keynote speaker for. So you're literally like, okay, keynote speech, workshop, 13 people in coaching. Like you're able to start outlining this. This makes it simpler for you so that you don't fumble on what your prices are, or again, you're able to give them a level setting when they come and say what their budget is and make sure that they're aligned. Again, before we move and get off this call and I go and spend my time creating a proposal, this is what it's going to look like. Let's have an open and honest conversation right now. And corporations are willing to do that. This is not people's personal finances, right? This is budgets within a company. So it's a little bit less daunting to talk about money and things of that nature, because again, this is the corporate money. So let's get real. Let's talk about it. So you want to make sure that that's your first step. You understand those things. Next, when you ask about their budget, what I see most entrepreneurs say when corporations give them kind of this blanket answer, and I'll out myself. So all of these mistakes I've made before. I've definitely made this mistake before, and I'm going to tell you a story behind it really quickly that'll explain what the issue was. So even me, who's had years of experience at this, literally did this, for several years, every single day of my life, figuring out the process, not of my life, but my working life, and figuring out the process. I still made this mistake as I ventured out to do this in my own business. I remember particularly getting on a call with someone and asking about getting to this point, asking about their budget. And she said, oh, just, send us the price. We'll make it work. Whatever it is, we'll make it work. Red flag. So me, even being, seasoned in this area, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'll just, package this up and send it over to her. And do you know, surprise, surprise, I sent over the price point and I don't even think it's definitely wasn't my prices now, but whatever price point that it was, I sent it over to her and she emailed me back, I think like immediately. It was like, oh, we don't have the budget for that. Sorry, we're going to have to look at this another time. And I was devastated. This is why I tell you guys about the energy piece, because at that moment I was devastated. I'm like, she said it was all good. Like, what's going on? This pricing, I gave the best pricing that I thought was fair of what I charge. Why didn't she accept it? She said they'll just work it out. Rookie mistake, even from the veteran. Okay. So, with that being said, and why I want to share this is because here's how I could have done that differently. Companies will often give that blanket statement, and you have to be able to decode that and to learn, like, all right, no, I need to ask better questions here. And in that moment, what I could have done is said, okay, well, here's some questions that you can ask. If they do throw that back at you, what did you spend on this last year? If they ever have spent on this before, what is, if someone else came in and did a similar service, what did they charge? What was your experience around that? And then if all else fails, they can't give you any type of numbers, you want to be able to throw something out right then and there, which is why you want to do that first step and understand what your prices are so that you can go ahead and say, for what we talked about, this is probably going to land between here and here. Does that sound like something that can work within your budget? And you can be very clear. I want to make sure that before I put anything before you, that this is going to make sense within your organization. So I know some people are like, hey, let's just go ahead and wrap it up here on the one call, protect your energy. If they can't give you a clear answer, let's reconvene when you have one. Some people may say, oh, well, we're in our budget time right now, so we have to see what we have allocated, or maybe they have to speak to someone else and things of that nature. Okay, if you need to take this back to your budget conversation or to someone else, here's the starting prices of what this will look like. So we're going to fall probably somewhere in here. That's enough information for you to be able to take that back, discuss it with who you need to. And then if you decide that you want to move forward and finalize this, then that's when we prepare a proposal. This is why you got to have your process on. Because once you have your process on lock, they can't wishy-washy you, right? They can't just take you along their train and string you along and have you, out here trying to figure out what's going on. No, I'm coming and telling you what this is going to look like. Company versus company. I see a lot of people feel like, oh, it's little me and big corporate. No, we're on the same level here. So if you want to work with me, here's how this process is going to work. Not to say I'm rigid and I'm not, able to work with you, but let's be very clear. Here's how this process is going to go. Okay. So that's how you want to approach the budget conversation. That's how I would have done it differently. Even as, again, the veteran getting on the call, feeling nervous, all of the things, be clear about those questions. And at the end of the day, let's have a number out there. And if they're just browsing or trying to get pricing, here you go. I don't need to send you a proposal to give you pricing. No, here's the pricing. And I think sometimes we want to sit back and think, we want to, be able to dissect everything and then develop our pricing, already have your pricing ready to go. So that way it's no thinking. Here's what it is. And you let me know when you're ready to move forward. And I'm going to go and work with, and continue to work my lead pipeline so that I can get some things closed. So that's the energy that you want to have when you're asking about budget. You want to get clarity. You don't want to be given one of these blanket answers and then going and creating a proposal and being disappointed. So that's what you want to do. Do not make this mistake. Don't let them just shove you off, and make sure that you get that clarity before you move on. Okay, so let's get into the sixth mistake that I see most entrepreneurs make when they're pitching for corporate contracts, and that is not speaking the language. Now, hear me, because I know some of you may already be feeling some apprehension about this, like, I don't know everything that they're saying. And when I talk about this, I want to bring in my client, Lauren, as a story about this because she felt this way. I remember when she was doing some of her first market research calls and sales calls, she would come back to me in Voxer and be like, I don't know what they were talking about. Like, they were talking about maybe like budget cycles, just using their language. Corporations always should have, some type of glossary because they all have their own language and things that they speak. And she's like, I don't know what they were talking about. And she sends me the recording and I go through it and everything. And I'm like, here's what they were saying. And so for her, that very first call or those very first interactions, she was like, I don't know. Towards the end of our first time working together, she was more confident in what they were talking about. I remember her saying, like, I understand this now. The first call, I was like kind of confused, but as time went on and I continued to have these conversations and these debriefs with you, I started to understand what these things meant and what they meant for me and how I could continue to add value through understanding their pain points, understanding their process and things of that nature. So understanding the language is key, but it's not something that you just need to open a book on or look online and try to figure it out. You're going to have to get out here and start having conversations, which again goes back to our earlier point about having a healthy lead pipeline, because as you start having these conversations, you start to hear, okay, fiscal years and budget cycles and what they're looking to prioritize in the organization and change management, all these different things. You're starting to hear how these are positioned within the company, and then you start to learn how you can start to mirror that language, right, with what you do, so that you can further connect with them and show them that you have a solution to their problems. Now, this doesn't mean you need to be an expert in their business. I tell clients, you need to be an expert in what you do and let them be an expert in what they do. And you both together create the magic. So stay in your lane, stay in your expertise. Don't feel like you got to know everything about the tech industry or the financial industry or whatever space that you're going into. You just need to know enough to be dangerous. You just need to know enough to come in and stand up like the expert that you are, and be okay with asking questions or saying that I don't know, or I'll have to get back to you on that. But just having a great understanding of how this process works. And that only comes, I know this, and I just gave you an example of Lauren, who knew this, who, took this process and was able to land a contract with Louis Vuitton and is on her way to do other contracts with nonprofits, from someone who was nervous and didn't understand the language from the onset and grew to know that. You have to put in the reps. This is a thing that's super important throughout this process. You have to be able to put in the reps, and you have to feel confident in these conversations and allow that to grow. Be okay with not knowing everything in your first conversation, but be willing to understand and learn the language. It will help you along the way to be able to grow, be a thought partner, be trusted, and again, get to a point where they're calling you or they're reaching out to you to bring you in to do particular services or to provide them with a new quote. That's the ultimate goal. But put in the work to get there. And even when you get there, I still advise clients to continue the lead generation process so that if something happens, because industries can be volatile, that you always have something else working. That's how you build a successful B2B division or B2B arm of your business. All right, so we're getting to number 7. Y'all still here? Are y'all loving this? Like, I'm loving this. I'm like, oh, this is so good. All of these steps are so good, and these mistakes, because there's learning on the other side of them. So if y'all are excited like me, let's go ahead and get into number 7. The 7th mistake that I see most entrepreneurs make when they're going after corporate contracts is the start and stop syndrome. Now, this is not a, psychological term or anything. This is a Kirsten term. This is what I've seen, again, with clients that I've worked with, and even just in my own process, and why I've developed not only the side of just teaching tactics, but also teaching how you have to be during this process. Because sometimes it can be a grind. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, and you already know this. If you're watching this video, then you've probably already started down the route. You may have gotten a contract here and there, and you've understood. Sometimes it can be not as roses and flowery as most people on the internet will make it seem. So the start and stop syndrome is essentially when you take off, right? You're full force, you're sending out emails, you're getting excited. Maybe you got a call booked, maybe they're interested, and you're full steam ahead. And then something happens and you just, how Jamie Foxx does in the show, The Braxton, you kind of delire and everything stops. The problem with this, and I want to say this from the energetic side, because again, this is what makes it stick. I could tell y'all all the tactics, but you have to be the person to hold yourself through all of the madness when it comes to this corporate stuff. But usually when you get to that point where you've stopped your process and you essentially put a halt to everything, now it takes more time to get restarted, get back into the groove. If you set that goal of reaching out to 5 people a day or 5 people a week, it takes longer to get back into that if you halt yourself. And what I find most people halt themselves behind is because, again, they don't have enough leads. So maybe they just had that one person and something changed, or they went on vacation. Sometimes people go on vacation, they don't even tell you, and you're like following up with them and you never get a response. And you're like, what happened? You feel like you've been ghosted, right? Because you're putting all your energy there and something breaks in the process, mentally, you slow everything down. Dangerous territory to be in, because there's so many opportunities out here that you need to be, continuing to work the engine. Don't let one monkey stop the show. I was almost not going to say that, but let's be real. Let's not let one monkey stop the show. We got to have things rolling. So the more you start and stop, the longer it's taking you to develop the consistency to get those contracts closed into your business and to really start to make the impact that you want to make, because that's what it's all about, right? My people aren't just trying to get corporate contracts just to get corporate contracts, right? We can do it. We can sell a high ticket offer at the same rate and be able to get to our revenue goals. Why do we want to work with corporations? Because we want to increase our impact, because we want to be able to have partnerships with large organizations that are doing great things, that have values that align with us. Why do we do this? Because we want to have some consistency. We want multi-year contracts with organizations to do the work that we love to do. And ultimately, we want to be able to impact these people inside of organizations. How many people have jobs versus entrepreneurs, right? And need the same help that we're doing with entrepreneurs. So let's get in, tap into another demographic of people who need what we have to offer and make a greater impact. That's what it's all about, right? Making a greater impact, having a larger stage, having a chance to not just impact a few hundreds or millions of dollars, but billions of dollars. That's what it's about for me. I don't know about y'all, but that's what it's about for me. So the start and stop prevents us from doing that. People need what you have to offer. Organizations need what you have to offer. If you're constantly getting in and out, dipping in and out, you're just getting further and further away from that, and you're lowering your energy around the process. This is when I hear people say, oh, well, they didn't respond, or I haven't reached out in a little while. I need to do follow-ups. I need to do all the things. If you're passionate about your mission, you're passionate about the impact it can have on organizations and what you do, there shouldn't be any stopping. And if you're finding that you have that kind of start and stop thing going on, tap into that vision. First of all, make sure it's in alignment. I'm all about authenticity. This is another thing that I'm really into speaking to my clients about. That's not just about the tactics, but about the authenticity. Because again, outing myself, I've been there trying to make all the things work, trying to take one thing that I think I could do and just thinking we're going to go all the way to the bank with it. No, go all the way to the bank with the thing that you know you can do. This stuff I love to talk about. Y'all can see, I love to talk about this. I could talk about it all day. I have my 6 mistakes written down because there are a ton of mistakes, or my 7 mistakes, because there are a ton of mistakes, but there are a few that I really wanted to talk about. So I have those written down, but everything that I'm sharing with you in terms of context and stories are things I just love to talk about and could turn on the camera and do that. So that's going to help you get out of the start and stop if you're authentic with yourself and honest with yourself about what it is that you want to do, what you bring to the table, and doing your inner work to make sure that shines through in every activity that you do. Okay. So we have gotten to the end of the 7 mistakes most entrepreneurs make when pitching for corporate contracts. What mistakes did you see in yourself? Like you said, I already outed myself. I've been in all of these mistakes and plenty more, and I've still been successful in driving hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars into organizations, landing contracts with amazing organizations, and also guiding clients to be able to work with organizations as well. So if I can do it, you all can do it as well, especially with the simplified process and understanding these mistakes without hopefully having to learn the hard way. Okay, so if you've gotten these mistakes down and something came up for you and you're like, oh, I don't want to make these mistakes, or I'm here, I see myself in some of these mistakes and I know I want to be more successful, and something has just like ramped up in me about this process. And I want to get not only serious about it, but I really want to develop this arm of my business. I need support. I recognize and understand that I don't know everything, neither do I. I know my expertise in the things that I shared with you today, but I don't know every single thing in the world. So I value getting support, getting mentorship, getting coaching. I've invested in it since pretty much the onset of my business. And if you're someone like that, that really recognizes the value of support and you know this is something serious for you. So again, in my interactions with clients and corporate clients, it's the same, right? I make sure that people are invested in themselves and they are ready to move forward themselves. So if you feel that pull and you're like, I need the support, I want to get this now, I don't want to keep waiting, I don't want to keep making mistakes that could be costing me thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I need to get support, then I absolutely want to invite you to have a conversation with us about that. So here's what that will look like in a nutshell, and then I'll give you an invitation to the call. So what we do is we invite individuals to a strategy call where we discuss your overall B2B business, what you're offering, what your challenges are, and really dive deep into the business. We're actually showing you the process that we do with our corporate clients so that you can get a preview of what this will look like. But we go through that conversation, and then by the end of the conversation, based on my assessment, we decide, are we a good fit to work together, right? Where you are, what you're trying to get to, what your challenges are, what you're offering, that will be the basis of understanding if we're a good fit. If we are, then we will make an invitation for you to join one of our programs or services, membership, whatever that will look like for you based on what we assess. And from there, you'll have the opportunity to be able to accept our offer. So low pressure conversation, but again, it's for action takers. It's not for the people who are browsing. If you want to see what we have to offer, our programs, or just get an idea of what we do, we have a ton of content that can do that for you that we can easily share with you. But if you're like, yes, I got everything that I need, I understand, and I want to see how I can work with you in particular around this, then you want to book this call so we can have that conversation. So wherever you're watching this video, there will be a link for you to be able to book that call. You'll fill in some information to give us an understanding briefly of what you do, how you do it, all the things, just to give an initial assessment if you'd be a good fit. We'd have that call and conversation. As long as everything is good to go there, we'll make you an invitation and then invite you into working with us and accept you in. So I'm super excited about that. I love this work that I get to do. And I love being able to help entrepreneurs make that great impact inside of organizations. So if you are our next success story, if you're our next Lauren or our next India or our next Viola, then I want you to be able to jump on a call with us. Let's have the conversation and let's get you set up for success. The time is now, the moment is now, and you want to make sure that these 7 mistakes are either history for you or never something that you have to address because you got that support. All right, so action takers, I look forward to seeing you on that call, and I will talk to you soon. All right, bye.